G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. So it's time for me to go over my tips for the second round of the finals for the 2024 final series. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you do go on to enjoy today's video. And let's start off with how it went last week. Okay, so my tips from the first week of finals, and I got myself a 2 out of 4 in what was expected to be an exciting first week of finals. It was the polar opposite, with 3 out of the 4 games being pretty much blowouts, let's be honest. I backed in Port Adelaide, thought this was their time for their midfield to really stand up and dominate the Catters, but just brilliant from the Cats. I just think, when you really think about it with finals football, it's the well-coached, the well-drilled teams, the sides that have fantastic defence and structure that really do get it done. And then going with the Dogs on Friday night was bullish on them. For my finals predictions, I had them going all the way to the grand final. I just felt that contested brand that they have, the tools at either end of the ground can be very dominant and very potent. Wasn't the case at all. The Hawks were able to take them out of the game, take their midfield out of the game too. An exciting brand they are able to display on Friday night. Their blend of their experience and youth. Geez, they're exciting to watch. Massive win heading into a semi-final. And it was saved the weekend of football with a huge game here between the two Sydney teams. The Swans coming back from the dead from pretty much around 20 points throughout the main stages of the game. Crazy finish in the end, and they pipped the Giants by 6 points, so able to get that tip correct. And the Lions over the Blues, it was 60-0 at one stage, so Brisbane looked like they put the foot off the pedal a little bit, and the Blues did storm home late. Okay, quick look now at my tipping competition leaderboard update. There were a lot of people that did get themselves a full 4 out of 4 score from the weekend, so congratulations to those people on the screens right now. And as for who is leading my tipping competition, it is no other than still 𝐓𝐴 𝐻𝐿, but he's only leading by just 1 point. So now let's begin with the semi-final tips for this upcoming weekend of sport, shall we? Friday night footy, we start with Port Adelaide taking on the Hawks at Adelaide Oval. So Port Adelaide losing against the Cats in the qualifying final, they get a second chance, and the Hawks beating the Bulldogs, they move on and play Port Adelaide away from home. An absolute disaster class it was from Port Adelaide on Thursday night, and what the majority expected them to really turn up for the first week of finals, with winning, I think, 8 out of the last 9 games in very good form. Midfield looking exciting. Defensively sound too. A high inside 50 team. You'd feel like they'd really bring the heat. Home final too, but just did not bring that at all. The intensity and the energy was terrible, and they just got out-coached, outdone by a professional Cats outfit. They couldn't surge the ball forward. They were completely and utterly done with defensive transition. The Cats were just able to carve them up through elite quick ball movement. Massively exposed defensively. Couldn't get anything going for the ball. Some of their injuries on Thursday night were just shocking, so that's really got to improve facing Hawthorn, where they are one of the more potent defensives, back sixes in the competition. They are very good in the air. Look at 𝐷𝐵𝐶𝐿, he was outstanding in the win over the Dogs last week. 𝐓𝐴 was another one for the Hawks, who was fantastic in the air. So Port Adelaide can't replicate what they did last time out against the Cats. Just this long bombing inside 50. Really got to bring some of that dynamic ball movement like they've been able to showcase at home this year. Do they potentially bring out Charlie Dixon? He was as useful as an inanimate carbon rod. Simpsons fans will get that joke there. Maybe will they bring in Todd Marshall instead? The role plays really need a lift, I feel, for Port Adelaide too. Francis Evans, Jed McEntee need to apply some pressure. Does someone maybe play a role in 𝐷𝐵𝐶𝐿? Can't let him dominate. And one of the biggest issues for Port Adelaide, especially the past few seasons with these finals losses, is their stars just do not stand up. Zach Butters, obviously he was playing injured and then he was subbed out, but Connor Rozee, Horne-Francis, he was spending a bit of time forward, so you'd think he spends a bit more time in the midfield. Ollie Wines was another that really faded out of that game as well, so they just need a strong midfield performance if they're any chance, really, because let's be real here, not many people within the AFL community or the fans in general giving Port much of a chance here. When you look at the other side of the coin, the team who are they facing? Hawthorn, you'd say one of the most informed teams in the competition, just off the back of a 30 or 5 or 6 goal win over the Dogs, and how dominant did they look? I was coming into the final series thinking the Dogs would be one of the teams to beat, given that finals brand and that the contested brand that really suits and stands up with finals football. But the Hawks absolutely brain the Dogs in contested footy and also the ground level game. Some of the Dogs' own strength, so that was a real promising and a real impressive feat when watching the Hawks on Friday night. John Newcombe was one of the individuals that certainly led the way for the Hawks in their win last week, was one of the best on ground and had an outstanding performance in the midfield. He was key on not allowing the Dogs to extract the ball cleanly from inside to out. That's been one of the biggest strengths for the Bulldogs this year, and he was able to pile up the score involvements with his own ball use too, and was also really clean in and under, which was one of the main themes for the Hawks win. Just how they're able to move the ball against the Dogs, chain those quick hand passes so fluently, so accurately, so quickly too. The Dogs just couldn't defend it, and if the Hawks are able to bring some of that quick ball movement like the Cats were able to last week, well, that's going to be a bit of a weakness for Port Adelaide. Port really need to win the territory battle in this game. A very high inside 50 side. They like to press the forwards, high up the ground and try and force turnovers in that forward half. So they can't be letting the Hawks swiftly move the ball end to end. I think that's got to be one of the key points for Port. Just really bring the energy and heat and bring a manic amount of pressure. So is it going to be another season for Port Adelaide going out in straight sets? I have been hearing a bit of noise on the radio that if they lose this game, there is a chance that 𝐼𝐶𝐞 𝐎𝐥𝐿 might know himself that his time is up and could potentially leave. That's still a bit of a speculation, but it just feels like such a Port Adelaide kind of scenario here. Whenever they're written off and whenever not many people give them a chance, they just always seem to prove people wrong and pull out a win when not many people expect it. But it still is a finals game, so plenty of the spotlight, plenty of pressure will be going on Port Adelaide with this game. They've got really nowhere to hide. The absences of Houston and Farrell for me are just ones that really do kill them with some of their ball movement coming out of the back 50. They're just not really creative with them, and they have to rely on Burn-Jones and Bergman, who are more of their stoppers and more of their physical types. So Port just really need a response in that midfield, win plenty of clearance, get the ball in the forward half, force turnovers in that area and just capitalise. Need to put on the scoreboard pressure because apart from the 112-point win they had over the Swans, their points for has probably been one of their weaknesses. They haven't necessarily been a high-scoring side. So if they aren't able to bring any of those things to the table, can't really see them winning this game of football, because when you just look at Hawthorn, one of the informed teams in the competition, a side high in morale, well coached, well drilled. The young players are up and about. They're an exciting team to watch. Off the back of a really big win for their football club, winning by 30 odd points, and just how they were able to convincingly knock off the Dogs in pretty much every facet of the game. They moved the ball with haste. Their ground level game was just like Geelong's. They hunted in numbers so well. Hawthorn's pressure was also just elite. They just forced the Dogs into so much mistakes. Were able to win a lot of turnover and capitalise off it well. No Sam Frost and no Will Day for this game though, so they are somewhat big outs and they do need discussion in this video. Sam Frost has been awesome as that lockdown type. You know, those lockdown players are just always young sung heroes, and once they go out of the team, it's hard to sort of replace those players because you need continuity in the back six. That's one of the most important things, especially for the long run if you do want to win a premiership. But still feel those outs, they should be okay and should be definitely capable of winning this game. But hey, maybe it's a chance for someone like 𝐓𝐻𝐿 𝐎𝐥𝐻 or if Todd Marshall comes back on the team to really try and own it, because I'm pretty sure they had like 3 marks inside 50 halfway through the third term, so try and get a bit of more potency going inside 50 Port. But in the end, if I'm brutally honest, I just think Hawthorn are hard to go against here. They can just really win anywhere away from home. This is something I've been saying with the tipping videos across the second half of the season. Playing with confidence too. Just, yeah, I love the way they're going about it, and just the brand they are playing really does stack up. The contested stuff has been outstanding. The pressure is up there as well. Ground level game's excellent. Ball movement, everybody's playing on the same wavelength too. They're unselfish, and everybody's really getting involved forward of the ball. High octane forward line. So yeah, given what the Cats were able to do to Port Adelaide, carve them up with ball movement, I just think the Hawks can do this once again. And Zach Butters, apparently he might not even get up for this week, or he will not be at least 100% for this game too. Just have my doubts about the pair. I think Hawthorn, they're the team with the momentum. They're the team with the brand that stacks up. I'll be tipping the Hawks here to knock off the pair, and they'll go out in straight sets for 2 years in a row. So the Hawks to win this one and win it well by 20 points. Then the next semi-final, we do have the Giants, who just narrowly lost against the Swans in the qualifying final. They get the second chance at home as they take on the Brisbane Lions, who were able to knock off the Blues in pretty convincing style for the most part. They were winning this game 60-0 at one stage. Yes, 60-0 in a final. It was outstanding. Brisbane, right from the get-go, brought the heat, brought the intensity. The intercepting game was brilliant as well from minute 1, 2, and all their stars were just getting heavily involved. They battered the Blues around the footy. Carlton just showed little to no intensity up until half-time, really. So it felt like a bit of a training drill. But most importantly, the job is done for Brisbane. They have got bigger fish to fry, I guess you can say, in the grand scheme of things for this final series. Now playing a side that's definitely going to be more of a challenge of GWS, and I thought they were outstanding, quite literally outstanding, and they were very unfortunate to lose that game. I just feel like Sydney are just a pretty quality type of team where they might not be playing well for most of the day, but it can take a quarter of brilliance or a 10-minute patch of brilliance and they'll somehow kick in a flash of an eye 3 goals in a row and win the game. Just in the end, Giants weren't able to win critical contests. The Swans just wanted it more. And forward of the ball, their options really died out. Hogan and 𝐴𝐵𝐺 were excellent up until pretty much three-quarter time. Toby Green was pretty limited and well held by Rampy, and also Daniels was well held by Harry Cunningham. So for the Lions, if someone like 𝐼𝐴 can really shut down and Toby Green and keeps accountable and Brent Daniels, I think that's important for the Lions. Try and shut down those Giants users for the ball, because I feel in comparison between the two sides, the Lions probably have more of that potent forward line, more of those plays that can really carve open a game in comparison to the Giants. So it's the likes of Kyle Lohman and Zach Bailey and Charlie Cameron. Cam Rayner was brilliant last time out against the Blues, so can he replicate another solid finals performance here this weekend? He's definitely their barometer when they do go inside 50, and he can definitely break open play when the ball's in congestion. It's just a really intriguing matchup, this one. These are two quality teams, and I feel like both these sides are somewhat still underrated in terms of winning the premiership, given Brisbane didn't make the top 4 where they really should have with those losses they had late in the year, and also with the Giants losing that qualifying final. They'll have to do it the hard way should they taste premiership glory. The pressure from both teams in their respective games was through the roof, especially for GWS. They started like a house on fire and forced Sydney into so many mistakes. They couldn't move the ball fluently, whilst the Giants were more of the potent team when they were able to move the ball in transition and pick apart targets way better than Swans inside 50 for pretty much the majority of the game. So I feel like heading into this game, they don't really need to fix up on too much. They just need to keep on doing what they did last week, but just simply play 4 quarters, which probably has been one of the issues for the Giants in the back half of the year. They need a full, solid 4-quarter performance, because Brisbane at their best are one of the most scoreboard damaging teams in the competition, with just the damage and the class they have in that forward line. Although they haven't been able to show it with their inaccuracy, they can definitely turn it up in a finals game. I feel an underrated factor in why the Swans were able to knock off the Giants was just they didn't panic with their ball movement, especially as the game grew on in that 4th term as well. They still took on corridor. They didn't want to put the game into the Giants' hands and just burning it down the line. They still, opted to go through the guts, take the game on. Exactly what Brisbane need to do, I feel. Giants will bring the heat. I'm feeling the Lions will anticipate that. Can they use the ball really well against heavy pressure? That's going to be key should the Lions get up. And also for the Lions, I've got to negate that Giants midfield. Peatling was fantastic last week. Tom Green, his first half was outstanding against the Swans too. So really got to try and dominate from clearance. That's Brisbane at their best. They are an exceptional clearance team. Oscar McInerney to get in the face of Kieran Briggs. He's been exposed a bit this season. Try and win plenty of clearance himself too. And as for GWS, keep on bringing that elite pressure like that against the Swans last week. If they can maintain that high pressure rating, 180 or 200, 190 I think is the elite pressure, or over 200 or something, whatever the pressure index numbers are. If they can bring that for 4 quarters, really like them here. And Daniels and Toby Green need to bounce back with better performances. Can't just ultrally rely on only Aaron Cadman and also, of course, Jesse Hogan. They need more contributors in that forward half, because you feel like Brisbane could definitely put on a big score. So with all that said, who wins the game of football? It's a really tricky one. As I said early on, I think this is a cracking matchup, and these two sides at their best, should they push on, could definitely shake up the Cats, because the winner obviously will play Geelong at the G. I said earlier, I feel like Brisbane have probably on paper more of that forward half damage in comparison to GWS, and I think their midfield on paper is slightly a little bit better too. So if they can get that clearance game going, they were deadly off the turnover against the Blues last week, so that's another key for them should they get up. I like them here, but just watching GWS last week. Now, I know an important thing is you're not entitled to win a game just because you were very good last week or whatever, but they're going to be angry dropping that game against the Swans. And yes, they didn't play well for 4 quarters, but they've knocked off the Lions the past 2 times this season. I feel like they have their measure, but their pressure is outstanding. They're a well-drilled team. I thought defensively they were outstanding too. I keep on saying outstanding. Need to say a different word, but it was brilliant. Sam Taylor and Buckley were very good. Just felt, in key moments, they just weren't able to get it done. But I'm expecting a bounce back here from the Giants. Really good in the midfield. Pressure game was just elite, and I feel like they can force that Lions side into some mistakes. And I think that's been a bit of a weakness too for Brisbane. When the going gets tough, they can capitulate a little bit, and they have been a side that has struggled a bit in defensive transition. And from a 4-quarter point of view as well, Brisbane has also given up some leads late, and they've let momentum slip. So because of that, I probably have a bit more faith in Giants here, and I reckon they're going to be the side that pushes on to the prelim finals. So this will be a beauty, I reckon. High-scoring shootout, or could it be a bit of a scrap in the middle, maybe a bit of a low-scoring game, given how both sides do go at it. Pretty strong defenses when they're up and about. But yeah, the Giants for me. I like them more. So the Giants to knock off the Lions here in a pretty cagey affair. Another saying I love to say in the tipping videos. GWS to knock off the Lions in a close game here by 10 points. So everyone, there are my tips for the second round of the final series. Now this video has been going for quite some time, given there's only 2 games this weekend, but given the limited amount of games, I do like to talk into depth of my thoughts on the matchups and its finals. So we do want to hear as much chatter as possible about my thoughts on how I think these games could go. But make sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comment sections. Who you're going to be tipping. I can definitely still sense some upsets with this game. Could see, well, we'll definitely Port Adelaide get up. You never know. This season's been a very unexpected one, but really keen for these matchups this weekend. Should be 2, let's hope, quality close games from a neutral point of view. Hopefully you did enjoy, everybody, and until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.